He outsmarted everyone, and throughout the entire offseason, Maple Leafs fans and reporters alike thought that Brad Treliving was planning a massive trade surrounding Mitch Marner, surrounding Nick Robertson, but the entire time he was planning for one of the most intense training camp battles in recent memory, and a recent report from Elliotte Friedman has come out and revealed some very interesting details about Brad Treliving's master plan this offseason that is culminating in what was one of the most important offseasons in Toronto Maple Leafs history. So I'm going to break all that down in this episode, but before we get into it, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the 70 or so percent that aren't subscribed to the channel, it would mean the world to Darius and myself if you could hit that button. Maple Leaf season is about to get underway, and this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. But Darius, some very interesting things to discuss today. We have a report from Elliotte Friedman, and now that the offseason is coming to an end here, we kind of have some more details, even just from looking at it from an outsider's perspective, of what happened this entire offseason. And Friedman dropped a very interesting report, and we're going to break it all down here. So let's just dive right into it. So this is surrounding the Max Pacioretty signing. But when you take a bigger look at it from a bigger lens, it was a very interesting offseason. So Friedman on the Fan Hockey Show talked about the Leafs signing Max Pacioretty, which is one of the most important dominoes to follow this offseason. He said Toronto wanted this. They wanted a competitive camp. They wanted some people to feel insecure, and I think they are not afraid of making difficult decisions if they have to make them. We'll see if they make any moves. We'll see if anybody gets traded anywhere, but I don't think they really mind the fact that they have extra players here, and they are guys who can go into the lineup. And obviously this is because they signed Max Pacioretty not to a standard contract, but to a PTO in order to battle for his spot. Now, obviously we knew his spot was mostly secure here, but kind of goes to show that obviously we were looking for a trade. The trade still probably will happen before November 1st when they have the deadline there after the 10 games. But it really goes to show here that the whole time Brad Treliving, we were thinking about how he was going to make a massive trade. He ended up putting together one of the more intense training camp battles we've ever seen, which culminated in Steven Lawrence, all these guys, even Max Pacioretty, Nick Robertson especially, having and putting together a very impressive preseason. And now it seems like the Leafs are very hungry to get many wins this season and actually get into the second round of the playoffs for this season.
I think the best example of that specifically is Bobby McMahon at this point in time. Because if you asked us a month ago, when we were live streaming or when we were making mock lineups and everybody on Twitter was getting ready for preseason, McMahon was penciled into that second line left wing spot. And he's not even going to start the first game of the year, and he's healthy, right? So I think that's the best example of, we didn't see this coming, right? They kind of had this plan going all along that they were going to bring in a couple guys on PTOs, and obviously they would have guys in the mix like Cowan, and obviously Fraser Minten got hurt. That was unfortunate, but they had a bunch of guys in the mix there, and they left a lot of guys on the roster till the last minute as well to really fight it out for those spots. And Connor Timmins earned a spot, right? Like, they made it a really competitive training camp, and there's new eyes coming into, and Craig Berube, right? He values different things than Sheldon Keefe. So a lot of guys were able to win spots over others that we didn't see coming. And I certainly didn't see Max Pacioretty coming. I'm more of a fan, like Nick, you've been turning me, I keep saying in videos, onto the idea, but I didn't see that coming. Whether you like it or you don't, I did not see that coming, right? Like, Max Pacioretty being a Leaf was not something I saw a month ago. And obviously Lawrence is a nice surprise as well. So he's made the lineup as well. He's going to play in the opening night lineup, and probably the entire season, right? If he stays healthy, he's a great fourth liner, great in that role at what he does. So Robertson, maybe he makes his way up into the top six at one point. We don't know what's going to happen with the lineup now, in the next coming months, let's say, because there's going to be a trade before November 1st. We know that because of the roster moves they were able to make because of injuries yesterday. Yarncroke isn't even in this lineup either, and McMahon is on the outside looking in, right? There's a lot of moving parts. So they did a really good job at making guys uncomfortable, like you said, coming into camp. And it created this culture, I'll say, of, some guys figured, hey, I can win a spot here. There's new eyes here, and everyone is fighting for only a couple of spots, because there was only maybe 4 or 5 guys who were safe this entire, really safe, at least. We knew, McCabe was going to make the team, for example, but only 4 or 5 guys that were really safe coming into this year's training camp.
Yeah, and obviously we talked about the camp battle, but another way that he outsmarted alongside some of the other staff, of course, was being $1 with under the cap, which was obviously a masterclass in itself. He had a video covering that yesterday, but all these things, the whole time, Brad Treliving was working along with some other guys behind the scenes here.
Brandon Pridham, we'll give him credit here on the channel. It's Brandon Pridham. He's crunching the numbers there. We know it's him.
Yeah, shout out to him. And you look at it here, even, so they sent down Easton Cowan, and that kind of goes and bounces off what Elliotte Friedman said. They're not afraid to make the hard decisions. And that was definitely a hard decision. Everyone thought that Easton Cowan, at least a couple months ago, and even to start preseason to a degree, that Easton Cowan was going to make the opening night roster for 8 or 9 games, get his games in, and then be sent down. But they said, hey, we're trying to win games early, and the best chance to do that is by having Steven Lawrence on the team. And ultimately, that's what they did. And you look at Max Pacioretty, he's been saying this all preseason, and he just said this yesterday. This is the hardest working group I've ever been a part of, and he praises the team's dedication in training camp. And he's been a part, he was a Montreal Canadian, he's been a part of some other teams as well. So it's like, at this point, the Leafs set themselves up to be, it seems like there's a total culture switch here from Craig Berube to the way that Brad Treliving has differentiated himself from obviously Kyle Dubas, but just differentiated the way that he operates. You have to be excited, at least optimistic. You don't have to be excited yet because it is the Toronto Maple Leafs after all. We're set up for disappointment to a degree, but it's very exciting, and there's a lot of things to look forward to. And you mentioned it again. Craig Berube spoke out of Bobby McMahon's camp, and him, in all likelihood, all signs are pointing to him being scratched, healthy scratch tomorrow against the Montreal Canadiens. He said there is more there. I know that. Bobby knows that. I felt that he was maybe a little hesitant at times. He's a great skater with good size. He needs to be a power forward out there. I am not too worried about it. But again, a month or two ago, we figured, hey, Bobby McMahon might even factor into the third line. He is out because of the play of guys like Steven Lawrence and Max Pacioretty stepping up, and even guys like Pontus Holmberg clearly are showing more than Bobby McMahon at practice and putting in the extra effort. But it's worked out very, very well, and the report from Elliot Friedman regarding Max Pacioretty kind of just highlights that even more. And at this point, there's nothing else to be, you can't really be upset about anything Brad Treliving has done, at least so far regarding the culture and changing and shifting the culture from what we saw last year and the years prior with Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah, you mentioned it with the culture shift, right? There is a bit of a culture shift because when you look at previous years, at least this is the way I felt. I felt like everybody already had their spots coming into training camp, barring maybe one or two guys, right? Maybe one or two guys was fighting for a spot or somebody that they had signed or is coming in, and you already kind of knew where they were going to play, right? That was the feeling, I think, since 2019, maybe, that every training camp, you knew what the team was going to look like from the first day of training camp, right? And this year, it was very far from that. I could not have expected the lineup to look like this specifically. Like there's a lot of pieces that I could have predicted, like the first line, but and the first defensive pairing, but a lot of the rest of it is different than what we thought, right? So there was a lot of healthy competition in training camp, and not just healthy competition. This was a hard training camp, and everybody had been saying that. Like the players have been saying that. You hear the media talking about it, right? Been a lot of injuries in this training camp. Like Yarncroke got hurt in training camp, right? And it's something he's kind of been dealing with the last couple of weeks. And obviously over the last couple of days, he got into a game and he got hurt again. It's been nagging him, and now he's on IR. So it's been a tough training camp. Like guys are getting hurt, and not hurt enough to keep them out of games or anything, but it's preseason. If you're a little bit banged up, you're not going to play, right? But this has been one of the craziest training camps I can remember in terms of competition, at least for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, and it's culminated in what is going to be one of the most exciting seasons, hopefully, in recent memory for the Leafs. Tons of changes, and things are going down. And hopefully, Cal Yarncroc can get himself better going forward. But Darius, there's a lot to be excited about. The season starts tomorrow. We'll have another video for you coming later tonight, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys later.